No, this is the budget workshop on Tuesday for Dexter Township on Tuesday, March 14th. Call it to order. I think we'll pass on the Pledge of Allegiance. This is just a workshop meeting. We'll do it next week. Roll call. Lonnie?
Here.
Karen Nolte?
Here.
Laura Sanders?
Here.
Michelle Stambolelli?
Present.
Mira Spatz?
Here.
And Karen Sakanga?
Yes.
And myself, Diane Ratkovich, present. Does anyone have any conflict of interest with any of the items on our budget? Thank you. Since no one's stepped up, I'll assume there are none. First call for public comment. There's no one here tonight. Thank you very much. And the next item is approval of the agenda. Somebody like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, good. I think I'll just do my supervisor's remarks right now because, so we will still try to keep this on track for by 8 o'clock, but we do have a lot to get through. I hope it should be really organized, and there's lots of things that aren't really going to even take any discussion. So please listen to what other people say. Try not to repeat what other people are saying, and we'll move towards decisions as quickly as possible. David will be, he has the budget here. Hold on one second. He has the budget. So he's going to be making a list of questions that we have to look into and changes that we are making. So I will be giving him, the name and number of changes that we're going to make or questions relative, what it's relative to. So that after this meeting tonight, we could quickly go back, make the changes, and be ready for next Tuesday. If something happens that we feel like we can't come to a conclusion, then we'll have to decide what to do after that. So,
Are we making decisions tonight? I thought we were not making decisions tonight.
well, what I want is, what I thought we were doing, what we are doing tonight is everybody's giving their input. We'll just kind of go down every department, item by item, because everyone's had input into this budget. And so we'll go down item by item. If there's a change, we'll talk about it, we'll note it. If not, we'll just move on to the next thing. Next week, we'll have the public hearing right at 6 o'clock, where we'll present the final budget, and then we will go right into our meeting, and we'll have, approval of the budget with the changes that we're making tonight. So hopefully we can get everything resolved tonight so that we can just approve the budget, the same budget that we present to the public. That's my goal. Anybody else have anything to add to that? Thank you. Okay. So this big one is a budget format, so you can read it. Thank you.
Yay.
We lost internet today, so David and Abby worked really hard to get this out. Like just about the time I got it where I wanted to be, and Abby was going to get ready to make it look pretty. The internet went down, and we were like scrambling, but we got it together. And then this second page has the recommendations for, is this yours or mine? The recommendations for salaries, and then the fire and the millage, the 3 millage budgets, which the fire, the police, and then on the very last page is land preservation, okay? So once we do make all these decisions tonight, Kim Haynes will is coming in on Thursday afternoon to meet with me, and she's going to help me implement this into the budget so we make sure that all of the, everything's done correctly.
But we're not making decisions tonight. And the reason I keep asking that is because as a working session, I don't think we can make decisions.
Oh, no, we're
tonight.
not making decisions. We're
Yeah.
not taking a vote. We're all
Yeah.
just putting, we're just coming to an agreement on, when we get to the budget meeting, get your questions answered, make sure that, we're all in the same frame of mind here.
And the columns are, column 2 is the ending balance.
From 2022.
Yeah,
and then,
that's helpful.
Tell us what the column
that was
headers are.
supposed to be, okay, sorry. Yeah, so that's the ending balance for 2022.
That's column 2?
That's column 2.
Is that February 28th?
No.
331.
331.
Where'd you see that?
The listing is there, it's just,
Oh, I see.
it's
Oh,
up.
yeah, the
it's up
331,
higher.
2022.
And then column 3 is the variance, normal, abnormal.
Yeah. And then, and the amended budget was really the budget we had the year,
Is that column 4?
yeah. Column 4 is the amended budget we had that it closes on the 31st. Then column 5 is the percentages of the, the variance. And then column 6 is the recommended figures for the new budget.
It's the recommended fiscal 24.
Yeah.
23,
I
So,
call it 23, 24. But there's different people call it different
so,
things.
is this the ending balance of 20? So this is a year, this is the ending balance from a year ago.
Well, we don't have the whole, we don't have the ending balance for 22, 23. We don't have the ending balance for the end of our fiscal year because there are bills still coming in. So column 3 is what has already,
where we're at.
where we're at, and column 4 are items that came in,
Oh, so column 3 is the year-to-date
Oh, wait.
as of today?
yes, column 3 is
So
year
column
to
3
date.
is as of today?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry, yeah.
What was column 2?
Column 2 was the end of last year's fiscal year,
Oh, end of,
end of
2022.
21, 22, yeah. Just for informational purposes.
Okay. So we can see 3 years, 2022, year-to-date 2023, and then recommended 2024.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for clarifying all that.
And we still are not seeing, like, we still don't see the property taxes in.
Well, yeah, the current property, oh, no, you're right, we still don't see the well, no, 351, 558.
That's the amended budget, right? Column 4 is the amended budget. Column
That's
3
22, well, no,
Year-to-date.
that's the year-to-date for this current fiscal year. Column,
Diane, can I make a recommendation? I just did this. If you draw a line straight up, it will block off the titles for each column. So just draw the line straight up, because the headings of the columns are there.
okay.
yes, I did the same thing.
You did the same thing, yeah.
And trustee Sakinga, Kim Haynes will be here on Thursday between 1 and 2, and I will be making those
So we can see what the.
journal entries that you're referring to.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Second, everybody.
okay, and then the comment line is column 7. So the estimates for current property taxes, all of this does come from either the treasurer's office or the assessor's office. So according to Chris, we should have about $380,050 coming in from property taxes. And then out of the treasurer's office, $110,000 for the state of Michigan PILT, $200,000 for property tax administration fee, $10,000, and then also out of the planning and zoning, about $10,000 for licenses and permits.
So we're looking at a $30,000 reduction in the property tax admin fee this year?
No, it shouldn't be a reduction.
Because last year we were budgeted at 230.
No, it did come, that one did come in lower, a current estimate. Now, it may come in higher, but Chris recommended it was actually 199 something. So it looks like the PILT may be lower this year, unless,
No. Were you asking about the PTAF?
I was asking for, so Diane, you're reading this out, but there's this property
Okay.
tax admin fee, PTAF.
oh, the property tax admin fee, yeah. According to Chris, he said that it would probably be about 200,000 this year. And he's estimating low, but it is lower than what we collected last year.
I'll ask him about that, though, because you raise a good point, because it's basically a percentage of what we collect.
Right.
So it's like 1%, right? So if taxes have gone up 5%, then our admin fees should be going up too, so that might change. I'll
And
look at that.
we're building new houses too, right? So
Yeah.
we should have increase.
So-
If our property tax goes up, that fee should go up.
Yeah.
They should be linked.
I mean, I think that he was, so the current property tax line, that 380, that's correct, that
Yeah.
Chris gave us, but I think the property, so the admin fees, that should be going up, not down. So I'll look into that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
So David, do you want to make a note on that one? So that's 101-000-447-001. Start there, too. Thank
Chris
you.
will be in tomorrow, too.
And Chris will
so.
be in tomorrow, so we'll get that. License and permits, 10,000. Planning revenues, 3,000. ZBA revenues, 3,000. Land division revenues, 2,500. And then planning deposits, we're not putting those in as revenue. They all go to the project that they're assigned to, and we're just a pass-through. Same with the land division deposits and the private road deposits, all the zeros. Then we get to state shared revenue, and that'll be up to $731,000. And then charges for services, I don't know what that was before, but we've been. Do you remember what charges for services was, Maris?
Me?
Yeah.
It's at 9,000 year to date.
Yeah, it was nine.
That's just the amended budget. The year-to-date is negative 35.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
So-
really don't,
okay, so we'll check
use
that
that
one
for
too,
it.
so that will be 601,000.
But it's recommended at 0, so, and it was
Yeah.
0, so unless there's a problem with the revenue attribution, so it may be fine.
And then it's 0 until we get down to
Fine.
fines and forfeits. That's the same. And those, we might be, well, we have almost 4,500 right now, so. Interest income, that was from the other,
Yeah, and that's all, that's general fund, police, fire, and OSLP interest, just from mission class combined.
But the police and fire aren't reflected in this budget, right? Because this is the general fund budget.
Well, it is 29,000 was the general fund, so if you want to make a note on that,
So we should probably reduce that 60,000
to 30.
to 30.
I would say around 30.
so 30 goes to general fund,
Yeah.
and then 15 to fire and 15 to police.
Mhm.
Okay. That, okay, David, you got, thank you. Dexter Pinckney House, nothing. Fire substation, about $4,000, where they pay us $100 a month, plus they reimburse us on insurance. And then,
Should we increase that? Is it, so if the actual is 4,500, should it be 4,500?
it really isn't 4,500, so I don't know where this extra money came from. So that is something we're looking into also, because the lease actually was drawn up in 16, and it just says it renews unless somebody does something about it, and I would like to see some reconsideration of that lease, because we do also provide, we do the landscaping, we do the snow removal, the general fund pays for the landscaping, it pays for the snow removal, it pays for mechanical replacements that are, if anything's 50%, if they can't fix it for 50% more, or 50% or less, or more of the value, then Dexter Township has to replace it. So if the furnace, is $10,000, and they'd have to pay $7,000 to fix it, we just have to replace it. So, yeah, so I would like to renegotiate that whole lease, actually. But that's a big discussion with the whole fire department, because, I mean, with all of the ways that we get charged by the runs, and our general fund on the fire department is, or our millage rate at the fire department is not going to cover the expenses for this year. So that's a whole nother discussion we'll talk about. Yeah, and pretty much other things, the refunds and reimbursements.
So the Michigan Bell franchise is getting zeroed out.
Yeah, it's just added into the,
It's all just going to be under
And-
one line item as franchise fees.
the franchise fees, right? Where's that? God, I still can't see it.
But then shouldn't, oh,
There it is, yeah. It's cable and AT&T.
but then shouldn't the, if we're going to put, I mean, shouldn't then the franchise fee be 71,000?
We need to reduce it because of the streaming services being reduced in the township.
Say that again, Karen?
I said that was a number, I'm saying Karen doesn't.
Oh, I
know
see.
Because we talked about reducing it because people aren't streaming.
Right,
Gotcha.
So
right.
our fees will go down.
Yeah, so that's why I kept it the
Okay.
same.
We
Yeah.
could get more franchise fees if we,
What?
But then we
Into a
keep
new
the
cell tower.
telecom.
Oh, yeah, we'll get a new cell tower.
that's where it's at now.
But then we keep the Telecom Act as a, that's a separate thing? That's not a franchise fee?
Right.
Right. All right, anything else about the revenues? Okay. What?
That's a lot of increase in revenue,
Yeah,
300,000.
it is.
So the state shared revenue increase is a large part of it.
That
The
comes
state has a big
directly off
surplus
the
right now.
State projected, it's the state site,
Yeah.
so it's good.
And, yeah. So the next one is for the trustees. And then on this front sheet, I put my recommendations on salary, although I didn't put the trustees here, of course. Sorry, but I did recommend 8% increase. Because I think this is a very hardworking board. And so I did recommend 8% increase for the trustees. So I think that's a discussion item. How do the trustees feel about that?
I pulled some data, in case anyone's interested in it. I pulled the Michigan minimum wage, the MIT area living wage, which is MIT every year publishes what the living wage is, and this year they did a huge bump up. And then also the consumer price index increase for 2022, so we would know what inflation was. So the minimum wage is $10.10 an hour. The MIT living wage is $18.87 an hour, or that's almost $19 an hour, and that's for one individual, and they have more data for families and things like that, but that's for a single person in Washtenaw County, $18.87 an hour. And then the consumer price index increase, it was 6.1% in calendar year 2020. So I would say a 6%, from my perspective, 6% is a reasonable increase based on the CPI. And just I know everybody knows this, but it bears repeating that people's expenses don't actually go up commensurate with inflation, because people have a mix of fixed and variable costs. So usually on an individual basis, your expenses go up less than the inflationary amount. So people's expenses will have gone up typically less than 6%.
Can I just ask, since I'm not, I mean, what I've been hearing on the radio and, news articles I read, is that inflation rate now, or the CPI, is more at 8% than at 6%. You said that was from 2020?
The 2022.
Oh, 2022.
It was the rate of increase in 2022.
Actually, the CPI is falling right now.
And I was interested in that too, but I think that might be national. You know, I mean, I don't really know what it means, but this is for Washtenaw County. So this was a CPI for Washtenaw County. But I also think that sometimes the news is reporting in very short time increments. So 8%, it was this month or something, whereas maybe last month it was 4% or something, and combined they're 6%. So I can't really, I was surprised to see it at 6.1% too, but I looked at both the University of Michigan and the Bureau of Labor Statistics because I was surprised, and they were consistent. So I believe that it's true, but I can't really explain it.
I was in a financial meeting yesterday, and in New York, they're projecting a 3.1 for the coming, like, it started at 9% in early '22, but it ended out, I think it even ended out less than 6% by the end of '22, and now it's projecting a 3.1. That's what they were saying yesterday.
That'd be great.
So I think there's a lot of chat, but when the actual numbers come in, they're lower than the chat.
Headlines, yeah. So I would be satisfied with the 6% increase, and I think, and again, just as a reminder, because I know I don't really want to relitigate all of the discussions we've had in the past
Right,
about
yeah.
salaries, but I would say we're always balancing our fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers against our desire to reward our staff for good performance. And typically,
I wouldn't call it a reward if people are working, compensate for
compensate,
performance.
right, but you compensate, but a significant increase in compensation is typically not for performance. Performance is, salaries are based on market, not on performance. You can reward people with bonuses for performance, or if their work is restructured such that they're performing in a higher level role, then they can become eligible for a higher salary. But we expect everybody to perform well, and we pay them at the salary that we hired them to work. We don't give them extraordinary increases every year. That's just a best practice. That's our responsibility to the taxpayers.
I mean, I would agree on some level with that, but at the same time, when compensation didn't really keep up with the growth of the township or inflation, and people continue to do more, are serving more clients, are serving, more members of the community, and taking on more responsibility in a different way, if we're not keeping these positions fresh, that no one's going to be interested. I mean, and this is a conversation we had when we started. No one's going to be interested in the future except for people who, will come and, I mean, it limits the number of people who have innovation and are forward-moving people from wanting to get involved in township government if we feel like it's, if we want to keep the salaries at a very limited, and then it limits what the person's going to do, and that is, that ends up becoming not as good, can I finish? Not as service to our community if we're undercutting the work that people want to do because they're just not compensated for it, and, they have to, and it's a very expensive township to live in, so.
So I did not pull benchmark data for any of I pulled some benchmark data based on current postings for the deputy clerk, because we've been talking about deputy clerk salaries at recent meetings. I did not pull it for any of the other positions. But if we're going to make an argument that our staff are entitled based on market and based on their job duties, then I just would like to see some data, and we've said that every year. I'd like to see some data that shows that that's justified. That's all.
And I hear what you're saying, Diane, I just don't necessarily agree with you.
Yeah, you don't
First
have
off,
to
I
agree.
don't think people, you said if we don't pay them well, they don't do the job. First off, people don't work because of pay. People work for other reasons. Pay is a part of it, but if you pay somebody $30 and you pay somebody $25 an hour, are they really going to do extra work for that $5 an hour? No. It's just not, in management, it just doesn't flow that way. And I think I think there should be a standard raise and then maybe a merit raise. But I don't think we should go above the CPI either. I think we've also shown that we've put out job applications. We found Abby. Great choice, you know? She came in, she was there willing to do the work. We've had other applicants. I think to say that we're not paying a fair wage or to make those statements, I don't necessarily think it's true. I think it's something we breed in ourselves and we talk to ourselves about it, but I kind of think there should be a standard. If it's 6%, I don't know if it's 6%, maybe we should do a 4% across the board and then do merits on the difference, if that's how you want. If you think somebody's just really going gangbusters and, whoa, maybe we use that extra percent in a merit raise and that's just not in a CPI raise. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I just
Do we
don't want
wanna
to price
do-
this out either.
Since we're just talking about, I mean, everybody,
Township.
the recommendations that I'm proposing here are all on this sheet. So I think since this conversation, you know, starting with the trustees, we could just go through the, because we did do evaluations on everyone. I think last year we provided lots of data on the ranges of positions, and it varies. I mean, it is all over the place, and it depends, you know, so, I mean, but say a director of planning and zoning can make somewhere between $60,000 and $120,000 a year. So, you know, the supervisors are making anywhere from $30,000 a year to $90,000 a year with, and probably 100 now with, you know, with fantastic benefits. So you know, so these are jobs that, yeah, have a range. And I guess it depends on what you want from, you know, what we're going to, you know, what direction we want to see this township growing in and what kinds of people we want to see running for these positions in the future. And that's why I was, you know, but for myself, I was recommending $48,000 a year. We had 3% increase in 2.5 years. I think it makes it more relevant to the job. I'm sure that Webster Township, they're at $43,000 right now. They will be getting an increase this year. And I think that it's a fair compensation. There's no benefits. So that's all I have to say, because I think everybody here knows what I do. So, and then, you know, talked with Maris, and I asked her what she would recommend for her salary. And we talked about $42,000 a year. And then Michelle, I think you indicated you'd stay at the same, but I didn't know if you had something else that you wanted to bring to the table.
No, and I know last year I did go ahead and do exactly what you asked, and I contacted Webster, and I contacted a few other municipalities. Most municipalities are larger than us. I did contact Webster Township, and they were all around the $43,000 for the supervisor and the treasurer. The clerk was a little more. But those people have also been in those positions for quite some time, and we are new, and we are still learning. So I am fully comfortable and
How long is
confident to
John
stay where I
Scherf?
am.
I don't think
He's
John
brand new.
Scherf. He's new.
Oh, is he
Yeah.
new?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
He got elected when we did.
interesting. Is he a
But he was
trustee?
already a trustee before
He was a
that, I
trustee,
think.
right?
I don't know.
Because
I'm not sure.
trust-
Maybe he was, and then I think that I don't know, there was, the treasurer there had passed away, and then he stepped up into that position, I think.
Yeah, because I remember talking to him a few years ago, from before I ran, when he was a trustee in Webster Township. Yeah, and I forgot that you did that, Michelle, and, I mean, something like this would be, you know, I would like to, you know, if you have that data, it'd be great to see it.
But the thing is I think that we need to also not look at the person in the position, but I mean, because the thing is we probably won't be here, you know,
Right.
or maybe not, you know, in 2 years. So this is not going to be my salary for however, you know, until I retire. This is going to be for someone else, not, you know, for me for another year and a half. So,
I think
I mean, I'm not trying to get rich, not the township.
in the past, I've been a supporting proponent that we if and when we give a substantial raise to the executive team, that goes into effect November of '24. And if we run again, you take advantage of that. If we don't run again, it's setting a standard for the next people. And in the meantime, taking small incremental increases. I've always stood by that. I don't think we should vote ourselves raises, really. And if they are, they should be smaller. I mean, we kind of knew what we were in for, and it seems like it should go to the next. If we want to upstep the board for the next board, okay. I mean, it's our choice whether we run again or not.
Yeah.
Diane, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
And this is for the whole board, not just for the executives. How many of you knew, before you put your name on the ballot, what the salary of this position was? So some of you did.
But
all
we were
did.
also described other benefits that didn't come to fruition,
Okay, all right.
in my situation.
And I guess you just, I mean,
So,
you know what you're getting yourself into, but you really don't.
Yeah.
Let's
so
just put it that way.
Diane, can you say more about that? You were told you were going to receive,
Well, there was going to be a retirement, and there might be other benefits. And I was also told it was a part-time job, and you can make it a part-time job, but then you're not an effective township supervisor.
well, but let's talk about the benefits. So did the prior board,
No, it was the person that was working with us, that I'd rather not say her name, but
oh,
they
so
gave
it was,
more indication that there was more than what's happening here.
I see, so it wasn't that there was a decision that was made that terminated retirement. It was just a misunderstanding of what the compensation was.
It was a misunderstanding of what the benefits were, from my point of view.
Yeah, okay.
I will tag on that line too. So I was under the impression that there was benefits, leaving my company even for 4 years. I came here, of course, to do something special here, not to get rich by any means. But I was under the impression that there was benefits, insurance, and that was very important. And when I did take office, I did see that there was a type of benefit, but it was Aflac. It wasn't anything substantial. I was also under the impression that there was MERS benefit. In retrospect, I knew I would have to pay a significant amount of my salary monthly to have that benefit, but that benefit was no longer by the time we took office. But I will be honest with you, I think benefits would go a long way being in this office versus compensation, because anyone that has ran for this office does know the compensation, and the compensation is always going to be low. I've worked with other clerks now in larger municipalities, Ypsilanti Township, Superior Township, and even Bloomfield Hills, where they have 50 precincts. I mean, it's a very, very large community, and, she makes, I believe, around $92,000. But the amount of work she has to put in, and she has a large staff, too.
Well, I will say, speaking for myself, I definitely am more open to providing benefits, health insurance, than I am to these significant percent increases in salary. And I agree with you, Michelle. I mean, that can be a very valuable benefit. And I personally feel like there is, because we're an our society depends on employer-sponsored health care, we do have some ethical obligation to provide health insurance for our staff. And so I would find that argument I would find it easier to approve that, I think.
And so how do you handle a situation of somebody who doesn't need health insurance, or they already have Medicare or whatever? Do you do in lieu of? I mean, because that's a whole
Well-
other conversation, because then at that point, then somebody is benefiting from benefits, but somebody that doesn't need them, they don't benefit.
Yeah, and I mean, that
So you
is
need a
part, that's
Level playing field.
that's it, well, that's, the obligation is to ensure that the staff is to make sure that people have health insurance, and if people have health insurance, they don't need it from the township, we've still met that obligation. So I don't think it implies that we need to compensate everybody equally, but I will say that at the university, and also my husband worked for the state of Michigan, I would get $85 a month or something if I declined insurance,
There's an
because I was using him. If I opted out, I would get $85 a month. If he opted out, he would get $50 a month or $60 a month or
Right.
something. But what we're doing from a policy perspective is ensuring that our staff have health care. We're not ensuring that everybody gets equal compensation. It's not about compensation, it's about making sure everybody has health care.
Gotcha.
And
Well, and-
overall, the healthcare effect will probably cost us more than a raise, but it's an equity thing.
But the other reality, I have talked to Decker, and they would not insure, they would not provide health insurance when we only have 2 people in the township. There's no group or anything, according to them, that we could join to get health insurance through the township.
But
What-
if we gave the executive team and everybody healthcare, you have more than 2 people. Right there, you have.
But I wouldn't take it. I mean, I have
Oh, you don't
healthcare.
want healthcare.
I
Well,
don't either.
she has health,
okay.
there's only 2 people on the staff that want healthcare. I mean, it is,
And the MTA doesn't have any?
no, there's no, I tried to find out if there are different ways to, be in a group, and the answer was no from from the research that I did. Yeah.
So we can provide and we do to Abby and to
No.
David, we give
Oh,
a stipend, right? A healthcare, a stipend to support, for the purpose of supporting healthcare.
well, we give Abby in lieu of benefits, and for David, we pay the premium under COBRA, which at some point, that will end for him, so.
It's relatively soon, too, isn't it, David? Do you know? Like a year, possibly?
Yeah, so so I don't know what the solution is, but I'm just saying that
So that's
extraordinary.
the 2 people.
Yeah, I'm just saying that extraordinary pay increases, I have trouble with that, but I feel good about making sure that everybody has health care.
And maybe somebody here can take on the task of, locating health insurance that could be purchased through the township. And I mean, I think it would be a great benefit, and I do agree with you that everybody should have health insurance.
Is it not possible to offer a stipend through the Michigan Exchange?
Yeah.
So the employees would pick you could set a range of a certain amount, or a type of plan they come in.
You mean affordable health care?
Yeah, through the
Okay.
ACA, that Michigan has an exchange, where enrollment, you can enroll in different plans, bronze, silver, gold, platinum.
But the individual
that are-
applies, it's not through the township, is that?
Correct, but it was set up
Okay.
so that smaller employers could provide insurance, so that option is there for those folks. And then what I've done in the past is we've reimbursed the cost of that
Just like we
healthcare
reimburse
premium,
David.
just like you're doing for Cobra, except it would be an actual plan that extends, and, Cobra runs out of time. This would be something that you would have to enroll in every year. So the cost could vary year to year based on which companies enter the exchange, but that might be something that we could look into.
Okay.
Piggyback on that, yeah, the exchanges are a pretty great option for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But the township has almost 0 cost because they're not administering a healthcare plan. And people out on exchanges get lots of options.
And you are talking about, like, when you go to the affordable health care and you look at, yeah, okay. So,
I was in the exchange before I got
Yeah.
old.
Me too.
yeah,
I was on the exchange too.
Michigan is actually one of the better states. There are some states where there are no options in the exchange. It was optional, but Michigan has typically had, Blue Cross Blue Shield and others offer exchange plans, which are generally pretty good.
Yeah,
So
and-
is
And
this a-
mine was like
can-
$700 a month. I mean, everybody's will be different, I'm sure, but mine was about $700 a month, and it was full, I got prescription coverage and basic, it wasn't just emergency, it was for routine healthcare.
And that's based on salary and the number of people in your family. So you're saying that if people apply individually, to having a policy that the township would cover it. Is that something that? Will cover it.
That could be an option, or at least a certain amount, or,
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would provide some
Put a cap on it.
contribution for it. Usually, most employers don't pay 100%, but we could pay 75% or something.
Okay, so how do you want to, is this something that we want to make a policy for before next week. How, I don't know if this is this a budget conversation or is this a future policy consideration?
Well, I think for the budget, we can estimate those costs, right? So we know, for example, David's cost or Abby's cost right now, and we can always explore what those options are to fulfill that obligation with the numbers that are within the budget. We may have to do a budget amendment later, but I think that's a good starting point.
How do other people feel about that?
Well, and we don't know if we're going to get any new employees, right?
Yeah, it would be a policy, not
It would
based
be a
on the
policy,
people that we
right,
have
so,
now.
Yeah, so we
Right.
would want to consider, I think we would want to leave some room, a cushion, I guess, is what I'm saying,
Yeah,
if we did that.
okay. Well, is there somebody that wants to make that a project? I mean, I think if that's going to be considered and what people are looking at for salary, that there should be a decision made pretty soon. I don't think it can be made, we can budget an estimate we can put an estimate in the budget, but I don't think we should let it hang out there for 100 years. So is there someone?
Why don't we just assume that it's going to be used by a maximum of 5 people at an average cost of $800 a month, so we could put it in the budget at $4,000 a month for health insurance subsidies.
Okay, that's fine, but is there someone who wants to work on what the policy is going to be in terms of, is it full-time, part-time, what percentage is going to be paid, how much of a family plan versus an individual plan? I mean, there's a lot of decisions to make about that. So, and if we put the money in the budget, like we did for life insurance and disability last year, and I never got any information from Decker where they could really do that, because again, they said that we were too small. So I would hate to put this into play and then it just goes through the year and we don't move on it. So I'm wondering if there's somebody who wants to work on this and bring a proposal to the board in April. Or
I can bring a proposal to the board in April. I don't think we need to do it at the budget.
No, I don't think we need to, that's what I'm saying, but I don't want to do, base our decisions on that and then just have nobody do it.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Great, thanks, David.
Yeah, that's one thing to consider. The exchange will be the price range. So I recommend, just having done this before, percentages, that we will cover a percentage.
Or,
because
or maybe a percent up to a cap.
Yeah,
Because a cap of X dollar per person.
to make
or
it
something.
equitable.
Yeah.
Because it is the one, I will say the one bad part about the ACA was that in Michigan, it brought back age-based rating, where we had not had that in a long time. So the rates will change based on people's age.
And I mean, typically, you would do a pro rata, so if somebody's 60% time, they get 60%, but I don't know how we would think of the executives, so we would have to figure that out. Do we think of the executives as full-time or part-time or?
Okay, well, we'll let you guys work on that. Let's move on, otherwise we'll be here all day and night. So I would like someone to throw out a recommendation for the elected officials. What do you think? So your 6% is, right now we've talked about 6%. For the trustees, what are you talking about for the three of us?
I actually think
treasurer,
that we
clerk.
should, I actually think we should pursue a policy for that so that we don't get caught up on these conversations. I know a lot of municipalities have like a standard that they set, and that is just what they go by unless there is some, large inflation, those kinds of things where they change that, that is tied to the CPI. And I'm wondering if we could just put in place a standard CPI increase that is just the standard that we've put in place, regardless of if it's us, a new board, whatever, as a policy. And then you can always discuss, merit-based, those kinds of things above that if you'd like to. I will say the one thing that is giving me pause is that these numbers here don't match. And I feel like at least in my opinion, the top 3 offices have to be equal or close, because they are all listed as part-time. They are all a ton of work. And I think that if we get into asking the individual office holder what they need or would like, that's bad policy. That we set it at, this is the standard for all three, and then we build in some sort of evaluation if we need to for whatever purposes, understanding that, you know, in large election years, maybe there's a lot of extra work in the clerk's office. Those kinds of, all of those types of things, I just use that as one example. But that is the biggest flag for me out of this, is I don't see myself supporting something that isn't standardized across all of the positions.
Well, when you're working on, do you want to work on that policy? And does somebody want to work with Lonnie on that?
I can work on it with them.
Okay. So for this budget, what are you recommending as a board?
Well, in the absence of a policy, let's go for 6%, and then we can always increase the salaries later if we have a policy that indicates that that makes sense.
And I would certainly, I mean, I know I just said we want a policy, and I think that's the right thing to do, especially for the trustees. I do think that we are starting from a place that is lower than the majority of municipalities around us. So I am okay with a one-time sort of increase if we can justify what that increase is for the top three officials, being larger than maybe the 6% just to get us in line with the other municipalities. I know that there was a question earlier and a little bit of back and forth. I wasn't here last time you all had this discussion. So I agree with the mindset that if the salaries are too low, you limit the people who can run for office. That's an argument that I have believed for a long time. It's, you know, in Michigan, the Michigan legislature is full-time, and we're one of the only full-time legislatures left. And the argument for that has always made the most sense to me is that the work, you know, doesn't end. And if you are paying these folks a very low amount of money, the only people who can then run for office are people who either have money to spare or people who are retired and aren't concerned about that. Because it is, whether it's part-time or full-time, it is a time commitment to run for office and to hold one of these positions. So I also understand not pricing ourselves out, and we have a fiduciary responsibility to the residents, but I also know that for quality of folks running for office, we have to be competitive in a way that allows someone to make the decision that maybe it's not no one's going to get rich doing these jobs. That's not what they're doing them for. But to allow them to make the decision that maybe I won't make as much as I currently make, but I can still make a living. Because we want those folks to be encouraged to run for office. I mean, I think that's the point of local government.
Thank you.
I really agree with you. I appreciate that perspective.
Because honestly, it makes me feel weird to sit up here and ask for $42,000, and I think it's 2023, and like literally I'm being shamed for asking for $42,000. You know, I mean, it's like, it's not even a livable wage. If I didn't have a husband, I couldn't live on this money.
Right.
But this is a part-time job, right? I mean, so
I mean,
so as
but
the full-time equivalency would be, is it
a full-time equivalency would be
would be like
$84,000 a year. I mean, most people, you know, I mean, to be able to survive and live, I mean, you have to be, and if you have a family, you have to be making $100,000 a year these days. I mean, I don't know who's surviving on that amount of money in this day and age. I don't. I mean, and that's personal experience, I guess, so.
It's only, and you spend more than 20 hours, right?
It depends. I mean, you know, it's tax season, you know, I mean, I have now coming up, I have a couple months where I'm not collecting taxes, so it'll be a lot slower. But, I mean, yeah, I would say that it is a part-time job, but there's other things that are involved with this that are outside of even when I'm here,
Yeah.
you know? And I don't know, I guess, I don't know.
So I guess if you're looking for recommendations, Diane, I would recommend that the trustee increase be reduced from the 8% you've included here to 6%.
Okay.
And I personally, and I obviously don't speak for everybody, would be willing to consider the 10% for the top, the executives, to get us what I believe will be more in line with other municipalities.
It's still lower than Webster is today, and they will, I'm sure, get an increase. They have a compensation committee,
And I think, and I'll say again, I think if we had that data that Michelle was referring to, that would help. You know, I mean, like if we had a little table like this that said, yeah, Webster Township is making 42,000 and, you know, Lodi or whatever, you know, because then we'll have some documentation that says this isn't just us.
I remember we've done that, and I have.
Okay, I'm not, you don't need to look for it right now, but I'm just saying as part of the approval, you know, when we do the budgetary approval, if we have a table that demonstrates that our neighboring townships executives are making a minimum of 42,000, and this brings us in line with those market rates, then I think that
It's justified.
that makes it easier to say yes.
Agreed.
Guys, I don't understand why, so Diane, the supervisor is at 48 and the treasurer is at 42, but it says that we're starting with these
Because this is just what
same.
they wanted.
I don't understand.
It says what?
How is it that they're so different from 48 to 42 when they are the same?
You know, this is a hard situation. So, I mean, I feel like this job, I can't work less than 30 hours, and sometimes I work
Okay.
more.
I'm just
And so that's
asking.
how I
It's
base,
not a
we each
judgment.
based our
Yeah.
requests individually.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So 10% is 41.
41 now.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. I just wasn't understanding it.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
And you're saying you think you work 30 hours?
30 to 40,
30 to 40, okay.
if not more sometimes.
I mean, I think there's also discussion to be had at some point, not today, about whether or not it's feasible to call them part-time positions.
Right,
Or if
exactly.
compensation needs to match.
And I
mean,
would say, for me, that was the biggest difference.
But that's a much larger
Right. And I think,
conversation.
and Lonnie, I do think that some other townships do have the supervisor at a full-time, and the others not at a full-time. And so that's, but we can't just decide that, like you said, on the fly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think that makes it easier to have the discussion about a discrepancy in payment, right? If the supervisor's position is
80%.
substantially more, 80% as opposed to then we should have that. I mean, it's a fair discussion to have. But I would just like to see the data and the information for how other folks are doing it. But I think it's a fair, I guess I'm just saying it's hard to do it just as compensation here without a change in how we are considering those three positions in general.
Okay. So we still have to make a decision for the budget. And what do you want me to put in the budget lines?
Diane, for the minutes, is that going to require a motion by the board to set those salaries?
Yeah, that's what I
But
was.
you can't do it during the workshop. You're gonna
No,
have
we're
to
not
do
doing,
it.
I'm asking for a recommendation. Everything I'm asking for tonight is a
Okay.
recommendation. I don't want to get to the final board meeting and have everything be debated. I mean,
Well,
that's.
I think you may not get consensus tonight, but I think Lonnie just suggested that you put in 10%. And and with a request for a table that shows how these salaries, that justifies 42,000 compared to our neighboring township.
I thought that we were going 6% across the board for everybody for now until we have a policy.
Well,
Were we
I
not
had-
doing that?
Well, I had proposed 6% across the
Yeah.
board until we have a policy, and then Lonnie made a counter proposal saying, based on what you guys are saying, you're telling us that you're compensated at a lower level. He raised a policy perspective, which I have heard before too, and I don't disagree with it, that we want to encourage the best people to run for office, and we want to pay commensurate with the surrounding areas. So he gave a counter proposal, which was 10%, in light of what Diane said, which is that you guys have only gotten a 3% raise over the last 2 years. So we haven't kept up with inflation for your positions.
And then there's two policy pieces that are getting worked on, right?
The healthcare
One is the the benefits, and the other one is what exactly?
compensation.
A compensation
The
policy.
Right.
compensation
Compensation
policy,
moving
a
forward.
compensation policy that will be a more regular.
Right.
Okay.
And we had asked for that last year, and it never happened. We didn't identify any person that was going to do it. So now, this year, Lonnie says he's going to take the lead on the compensation policy. I say I'm going to take the lead on the benefits policy, and we're going to come back in April and do that.
But who did we work with last year? We did work with somebody, because I
Right,
reached
that
out to them, and
ASE.
then, and they
and-
were supposed to do a compensation study and do a whole policy
And there
for
were-
us.
Yeah.
But we never did approve a policy, so.
No.
So I think that that's what we should approve. I think we should say 6% for the trustees right now, or this is what we should recommend, 10% for the executives, and these two policies getting work done that will hold,
I'm fine with that.
give us
Yeah.
some structure.
But I just, again, I want to say, because of how it looks, we've got to have the justification for the 10%. So if you guys go back and you find that you were misremembering, and Lodi and whoever else is around here, they're not making 42,000, then rethink it and propose something that's commensurate with our neighbors.
And that we should have that information by the board meeting.
Right.
When we're voting on it.
And it sounds like
Okay.
Michelle already collected some of this information.
I'm happy
Yeah.
to call around. I was surprised last year, that Webster was relatively high, because our other neighbors were not as high. So, and when I proposed that, I was also, going off of trying to be very similar to our sister neighbor.
Can
Well-
we identify what townships we want to compare to, so we don't have
I would just compare to,
People
roughly
our
our
size.
size.
Yeah, we should, it should have. the
And in
SED
Washtenaw
and
County,
number of
because,
people.
I mean, I looked at the MIT data, Washtenaw County has a higher cost of living than some of the other
Absolutely.
surrounding. So Scioto Township has a much higher population, they've got, and so their budget is larger and the workload is higher. So look for similar population size.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to require more work for, new elected officials coming into these positions because technology changes. I mean, we saw that, we had a lot of work on our hands in our offices, just making everything modern and streamlined, that was a lot. Learning one old process, then changing everything up and learning a completely different one. And I'm not done with that process, because now I have to do all new procedure manuals. There's a lot of work that's involved in keeping up with the times and updating, which the former didn't do, so we took on a big task when we came in here, it's different.
Well, good job.
And
That's
honestly,
great work there.
as you all know, I'm still working on learning that task. I don't even think we're going to go here, but that's where Kim Haynes plays a big part too, with what I'd like to suggest for her next week, is putting in a little more time so that when there are new individuals coming into these spots, that there is someone here that is able to assist.
Kim,
Can we,
is-
let's keep working on the budget. I did put money in for bookkeeping, so, and that obviously can be changed as we utilize Kim or someone like her more. which I would totally recommend Kim as much as possible. So, okay, so then for everybody, there's all the trustees. There's $750 in travel money and $1,000 in professional development. Does anybody have a problem with that? I mean, this has never been spent, but I think it's a good thing to keep in the budget so that,
Well, what's the travel
People-
money for anyway? Is it mileage
well,
reimbursement?
if you, say you went to the MTA
Or-
conference, that would
or
go,
flew.
or you went, yeah, so,
Like, I could technically claim mileage or whatever for trips to the bank back and forth. I don't.
yeah,
because it's
750
right up
could
the
go
road,
really
but-
fast if you're starting to keep track of your mileage, for sure. Okay, so anything else anybody wanted in there?
So we're changing that to a 6% increase, right? Not 8%.
Right. Okay. Now we're at so what I'm recommending is to take the office manager up to the township executive assistant, which never really happened last time, or when Abby came in. She's been an incredible benefit oh, I'm sorry, that's okay. Yeah, we're an office so I'm going, so at the orange one on the second page is township executive assistant.
Skip supervisor?
Oh.
Township superintendent manager. Ah, I see, right here.
Yeah. Page 2, orange, second grouping, orange. So when we brought Abby in, it was as office manager and trained under Kim. And, and that was great. She got I think she got the institutional knowledge quickly, and then she has completely expanded that position. I mean, I think anyway. So we had originally last year budgeted $60,000 for her salary, and she's been working at a $52,000 a year salary. She does receive the $200 a month in lieu of benefits. So I'm recommending that we change her title to executive administrator, not at $25 an hour, but just at a straight $62,000 a year. We had offered her $4,000 for MERS. She was not able to figure out how that was a benefit to her, because she really kind of wanted to, because she has to make a contribution, and she wanted to hold on to the money. Her money at that time, till she saw how things played out, so I thought that we should increase her MERS to 6% and then start her with a lump sum of $700 to compensate her for the time that she really didn't have all the information in her pocket. Yeah, so that's for the office manager slash.
I don't see MERS on, where's?
If you're on this, on this.
Retirement plan.
Oh, the retirement plan,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So that $5,000 a year would include a 6% contribution and starting with $1,000. Oh, well, it was a $700 lump sum. I'll change that to compensate her for the 5 months she's worked without collecting MERS, or 6 months that she's worked without collecting MERS. And again, the same benefits, $750 for travel time, $1,000 for professional development.
And she would have a new job description.
And a new job.
With expanded responsibility.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's really the job description that she got hired under, but that she applied, the job description that we posted, she is performing. But we hired her as an office manager, so.
So this is executing the decision that we made
It's
last year.
executing the decision we made last year.
Because we have a good performer in the
Right.
role who's capable of executing the position that
Yeah.
we approved at the salary we approved last year,
Yeah.
but it
Was a
wasn't
slight
fully
increase.
implemented at that time.
Correct.
And, I mean, if we are expanding, then at that point, could the two, Lonnie's taking over this policy or taking over another policy, I mean, possibly Abby then could help you guys and assist
Oh,
you with that
definitely.
information, you know, I mean,
Although
that's.
David has offered to help me put
And
that.
David, you know,
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what David would.
but
Okay.
she's great at gathering info, I'll tell you, and organization.
To me, I think this is a go.
Okay. That's what thank you. Then the assessor, we have a 3-year contract with the assessor, so this is, or a 5-year contract, sorry. But this year, he does get a slight increase, but that was negotiated, before we came. But Chris has worked every dollar that we pay him. We're actually purchased a printer already for him, but we'll just charge it to this year's budget, $1,000. Otherwise, no changes. He needs postage to mail out the assessments, and he's got $300 in miscellaneous office supplies, which he really hasn't used in the past, so, but I offered it to him. He said, okay. He doesn't buy much. The next one is clerk, so we've already talked about 10% or whatever we're going to come up with. Deputy wages, I kept the deputy wages for the budget at $25 an hour times 24 hours a week. I didn't change anything on that. And then the recording secretary, I was recommending an increase from $25 to $27.50 and add PTO time. I mean, our recording secretary never misses a meeting. Oh, well, that's good. Our recording secretary never misses a meeting, never misses a deadline, always comes through with thorough meeting minutes and, comes out in the middle of the night and drives through the snowstorms and I just,
So $26.50 an hour would be a 6% increase.
Yeah.
Just FYI, how that compares.
so we're going to, okay, so we can try to stick to it. And would people agree with her getting the PTO time? I think it's fair, since every other part-time position gets a PTO time.
What's
hours a week do you
PTO?
work?
For
Oh, paid time off.
Paid time off, that's
Yeah.
right, I knew that.
Hours a week do you work?
It varies depending on how many meetings I have. I can work anywhere from 20 to 60 hours a week.
Dang.
But you work at least 20 hours, no, you work at least 20 a week.
At least 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
I'm in on weekends if I have a deadline.
And you don't get any paid time off right now?
What is our PTO policy? I mean, what is staff getting?
I mean, that's very clear. If you work X amount I don't know what it is offhand, but it's very clearly stated. If you work X amount of hours, you get X amount of hours. Do you know it? Anybody know it offhand?
I think if part-time employees get, so 6 hours a month. Full-time employees get 10 hours a month. Our policy right now is basically once you get your max, you use it or lose it. So there's no rollover, there's no buyouts.
So for full-time employees, basically it's 12 days a year.
What is it,
12 days a year for full-time employees.
One,
It's 10 hours a month.
10 hours a month.
You stick with that for
Oh, 10 hours a month.
And then after that, after 5 years, you get 15 hours a month. And that is, if you work 40 years, you get 15 hours a month.
That's like the University of Michigan too. I mean, it just, once you, after 5 years, that's it. You have to get it.
And see what
Yeah.
current PTO time is.
But that's a big
the
jump
future.
up, from 10 to 15. But yeah, I'm totally fine with Janice getting paid time off. I don't understand why she doesn't already have paid time off. It sounds like the policy's clear.
Probably because part-time employees didn't get PTO.
Well, they do.
Well, they
though.
have been.
They
That's
do.
not true,
So
yeah.
I don't,
They're eligible for, I believe it's either 5 or 6, so it's 0.5
Oh.
or 0.6. So if you work 20 hours a week, you're eligible for
Quarter.
5 hours a month. It's 5 or 6.
Something.
6 is in there somewhere. But yeah, it's basically, it's the equivalent of half.
Mm.
So they tried to make, because most of the employees here are
So
part-time.
this sheet says, is that 50 cents an hour add PTO, or is that 27.50 an hour?
Oh, I
didn't
have
know what I'm
two.
reading here. I'm just-
So there are two things, to increase their salary to 27, well, What did you say the 6% would be, Karen?
Well, I said it's 2650. I wasn't necessarily suggesting
Right,
that we do
yeah,
that.
no.
I was
So
just
2650 would be
providing
6%. I was recommending actually $27 an hour, and it's wrong on the page, but I put it on the budget at $27 an hour.
What's the 50 cents an hour?
That was just an error.
Oh, that's just a typo?
Yeah, so increase to $27 an hour and add PTO. And that's a little more than a 6% increase.
But we are suggesting that we just stick with the 6% until we have a compensation policy that lays out merit, right?
Okay.
Right, so,
Okay.
and we can do more for merit later if we want to.
Okay. And then the same,
So it goes to 2650.
Yes. And David, just can you send me the PTO policy while I'm looking at it?
you could send them the whole personnel policy. That would be. And Abby's gone for a couple days, otherwise we'd ask her to do that. And you'd have it now.
So,
So we're on the blue now?
I guess we're on the blue.
Michelle, I was reading that Prop 2 is going to have fiscal impact because people are going to have to be, people have a right to vote in person for 9 days prior.
Correct.
And and their in-person vote has to be tabulated on the spot, so it's not just what you've done in the past where you could fill out your absentee ballot and hand it to the clerk. Now, you have to be able to fill out your ballot and put it through the machine. And there's also, like, everyone's entitled to a self-address, a stamped return, and a lot of other
But,
components that are going to cost money.
and we're not sure yet, but I'm hoping that the state of Michigan will actually be paying for the return envelope postage, or that will be relatively expensive for the township. But I believe that is going to be, that fee will be taken care of through the state of Michigan. We still will have to postage the outgoing AV ballot, but that is correct. And the way it's going right now, I believe we can just open one precinct for all three and have all three tabulators out. But I will have to have staff, so I will have to have election workers. I have to have a conservative
For 9
and
days
a
before?
liberal, yes.
Okay, wow.
And I may need to have two of each.
A Republican and a Democrat.
Yes.
Okay, no, my question right now, though, is, are we planning for an election for this year? Or, I guess that would be, right? Or it might be in March?
This year?
No, I mean of this fiscal year, though.
Are there any elections between now and 1 year from now?
So far, there are not, but it very,
Not the fire and, isn't there a fire and police millage that's going in November?
Well, that we'll do at the primary 24.
we probably should have, but I believe we decided to put it on so there wouldn't.
I don't know how they're going to
Additional fee.
conduct it, but they did pass the bill in the legislature for the Democratic
Yeah.
presidential primary, where Michigan was moved up.
Right,
To-
we
I
moved
believe
up.
February?
Yes.
February 23?
We will be an early, yeah, we will be
So
an
it will
early
be early.
state.
Yeah.
So we
that
may
will be
have an
next
election
year.
within this
We
budget.
may have, this budget is based on not having an election and just continuing to do election prep, so.
And so far, I mean, the library had their millage. I don't see anything on the horizon from the school because they'll have to pay significantly for the election, and police and fire will be next year, so.
So
all
for
fingers
now,
crossed, you know.
assume nothing and then,
But next year, because it will be presidential, it will be the 9 days prior, and I've got a lot of training lined up. Clerks training, big training tomorrow, and there's a 5-day retreat, so it's lots to learn.
okay, good.
Okay. So this budget would just be for, if there isn't an election, obviously, if there is an election, we're going to have a whole nother discussion and do a budget amendment.
The only thing I would like to recommend, if we can find the money in the budget, is there are a lot of voting changes, including things to the permanent absentee list and those types of things as well. And I think a mailing to our residents to inform them of all of those changes and their new rights would be really helpful.
That really could be a page in the newsletter.
I was thinking, yeah, the newsletter, or even, I don't know if we've ever done this, but when we send if there's other communications like tax bills, like including a hand, just,
Yeah,
but the
we've done that.
printing or whatever, just a thought as we're preparing for the next budget.
Yeah, I was really surprised when I read through the
I
list of
appreciate you
changes.
saying that, because I am very for mailings, even with land preservation, sending out a mailer is very important, I believe, too. So
So
I did
maybe,
want to propose that, especially since there wasn't a election, just a little money to spend. And I do plan to have at least 3, meet with the clerk. I mean, it's very important. The more I learn, the more I need to inform the community, so.
So do we want to add postage in this, or do we just want to incorporate that into newsletter? Or
We did budget for the newsletter, and then we have the tax bills going out, but I think we can have one separate. The mailing's about $2,000.
yeah, we can, that's to add that back into
$2,000
printing,
for-
publishing, $2,000 line.
In the postage?
Under printing,
Printing and
publishing.
Oh, the
Publishing.
next one, okay.
2,000,
printing and publishing, add 2,000.
yeah. And then we should add some more for postage.
Well, when we did the newsletter, wasn't it $2,000 to print it and to mail?
Oh, that's right, it was printing and
It was
postage.
printing and mailing was
Okay.
$2,000, and that was a,
Okay. And then I put in money for the hard or whoever, other equipment, maintenance that needs to get done while you're preparing.
And Hart was just out here last week, and they did service the stands.
So is the 20,000 for IT right, is that every year, or was that just because we did some upgrades?
It's to support all the programs. It's a little less than that, I think, but I'm not 100% sure because there'll be price increases, but to support all the, it's right around that price.
is that for website and all our sound systems and everything, or is that just IT right?
That's just IT, right? And actually, let me check that one because I think I might have got that mixed up with BSNA.
$20,000 they should do with
Yeah.
everybody's.
Yeah.
Like our emails did work.
I'm not quoting, and you'll look into it, but I think that is also with our dues for BSNA, but.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just as we're looking into that, definitely might want to consider other places. The experience I had getting back into my email, I had to tell the gentleman on the phone my password, which means that some random person, I have no idea who they are, has my township email and password, and that's the only way that we can change our
We
passwords.
can't change them.
We can't change them ourselves,
I
so.
don't even know what my password is.
You know, if you log out and have to log back in, you'll find
I
out.
was gonna say, good luck. if you-
Let's
Sorry.
stay focused on the
Okay, sorry.
budget, because look, it's 7:20, so can we keep moving through it?
Okay.
Is there anything else, Diane?
This is for technology, so we're getting a field inspection tablet it's for the planning office, but I just put it under technology, so it'd be clear, and just paying again for the website, which I think has been working quite well, so. Board review, pretty standard from what it was last year.
When you say for the planning department, David, is that for you a new laptop, or,
It's a field tablet for field inspections.
oh, for Mike or you?
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
part of the field inspection software.
Gotcha.
I raised the board a review a little bit on what they spent, but not much, so we don't know if we'll have, what other trainings people might have to go to, so just prepare for what might have to happen. Then we're at the treasurer. We did the salary, the deputy wages,
We'll
so
go with-
deputy treasurer.
And we'll go with 6% on that.
Okay, is that okay? And you, all those other things are the same. Buildings and grounds. So supplies, I mean, this is all pretty, insurance, utilities, miscellaneous, like, you know, we need money for things that come up, like the garbage disposal broke this year. Maintenance is $40,000, which is a list of,
Did you have questions?
No, I just didn't look yet.
oh, you're going back to the treasurer? Okay, sorry.
I just didn't look, you can go ahead, I can take a gander.
Okay. So the $40,000 is for, I have a whole list of things to manage this building. And then I put in under capital improvement, $40,000 for maybe painting, I don't know if we'll ever get around to that, and a
I-
roof.
I would like to put that into the capital improvement budget, which is at the end, so that we can clearly differentiate between our
Is
operating costs
painting-
and our,
well, okay, but I don't know if painting is a capital improvement.
well,
but-
if it's not a capital improvement, then we shouldn't call it a capital
Well, yeah, I guess,
improvement.
yeah, that's true. Well,
If it's maintenance, then just add it to the maintenance line. But you've already got 40,000 in maintenance, and we only spent 13,000 this year. So I wonder if the paint and roof can just be in the 40,000 that's in the maintenance line. Like, do you need an extra line for that? Or could you just bump up the
well, the
maintenance
roof,
line?
I believe, you're right about the roof should definitely be a capital improvement, but the paint,
You know what I'm saying? That the maintenance line has 40,000. Are we really going to spend 80,000 on the building? And what is capital versus maintenance? And then,
Maybe we should just reduce the maintenance.
so I don't think we need to resolve it right now, but can we
Right.
just flag that as a
Yeah.
question? So can you
Yeah.
just correct that for the budget and we'll approve
Okay.
it? And anything that's a capital improvement, let's put it into the capital improvement budget.
okay. And then the janitorial is going to be the same. They have not informed us of any increase, so we'll just leave it like that. They haven't had an increase in 5 years. And they're doing a great job.
We've only spent $6,000 though, why are we increasing it 3,000? Just asking, I really don't mind.
Because it's not, that's not through the
Oh,
end
we're
of the
not
year,
through.
so all the bills aren't paid, right, right.
Because why?
All the bills are not paid through the end of the year yet, so it'll be closer to 9,000. Legal and professional, so, this is a question. So I budgeted $60,000 because of the amount of time we're using legal now, you know, with Alex being on board and having her come, you know, and starting with Mark, coming to every board meeting, it really, and then the other things that do come up. And we under budgeted last time, but I think this time we, you know, now we are really using Alex quite a bit. So, but it's a lot of money. It's a big, so I guess one question is, do we want representation at every single board meeting?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And what we don't have on this budget is a bottom line. So I don't know whether we're fully expending, whether we're, so we know that we're, yeah, we know that our
We're
revenue is.
definitely over because of what I put on the roads.
So we got revenue increase of 300,000. But I don't know,
Oh, it was in, okay.
but I don't know what the total expense budget is.
I tell you, we lost the internet today, so, and Abby transferred this, and I thought, so, if we go through this whole budget, we want these little, so our revenue will be $1,575,000. $1,575,000, basically.
177, yeah. And we've got the total revenue, we just don't have the total expense.
Oh, and the total expenses, if I put in $725,000 for the roads.
Which is more than we need, we only need 625 for the roads.
Okay, so we can, I didn't know if I wanted to have that
Are
discussion.
we off of attorney, auditor, contracted services, and engineering already?
No, we're gonna go back there, because I think
Well, the thing is, I don't know what to say about the attorney if I don't know.
And our expenditures are about $1,660,000.
With the road,
600, I'm sorry, 1,600,000 with the road, yeah. there's-
so our operating, so if we have in here 850,000 in capital expenses, and the total budget, including the capital expenses, is 1.66, so that means that our operating budget is only like 800,000, and our revenue is 1.3 million. We are under expending. We still have that same issue that the prior board had. We need
I have
to
to add
fully
these up.
expend. We need to fully expend, or we're collecting too much in taxes.
All right, well, this was in the program, and so I will,
Absolutely, we should budget 60,000 for our attorney. We shouldn't be worried about that. We should be worried about, what are we not doing that we should be doing with the tax revenue?
okay.
I agree.
And hypothetically speaking, and I'm just asking, in 5 years or 8 years, when we need to resurface these roads, do we have that? Or should we be saving for them?
Well, I mean, so we've got 853,000 in capital expenses right now. And so we've got and that includes 50,000 for the roof and painting, so we've got that in twice now. So
Yeah.
we're duplicating that. Okay, and we've got road improvements at 725, but the budget, the road commission provided us is only 625, so that should go down. And then broadband at 68, and that's supposed to come out of ARPA, right?
Well, no, I don't think we're gonna need the 68 for broadband, because broadband really should be covered totally by Washtenaw County, by everything they're saying, so that gives us extra ARPA funds that we can put somewhere else. But I feel like we're jumping all over.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
Yeah.
I don't
I
mean
hear
to
what you're
jump, I
saying.
don't mean to jump all over. I really don't think I am jumping all over. Diane is asking, should we budget 60,000 for the attorney?
Absolutely.
And I'm saying, well, to answer that question, we need to know whether our operating revenue exceeds our operating expenses.
Right.
We know now that we're collecting $500,000 more than, we have the opposite problem. We're still underspending. And that's with budgeting 625,000, Michelle, for roads. So, and we are not going to need 600,000
And
a
we
year.
really can't save for future roads.
What are we spending?
The
Not
six,
supposed to do
the 600,000 is what they're going to need only for the first 5 years. And starting in year 6, it should go down to more like 300,000 a year because we're playing catch-up.
Then we're doing maintenance,
They were just
not
maintenance,
Yeah.
yeah.
reconstruction.
Yeah, so if we think of, if we want to allocate 300,000 to roads on an ongoing basis, we're
What are our total expenses compared to our revenue? I had 1,575,000 for revenue, right?
and 1,660,000 in expenses, and that includes 853 in capital expenses.
That'd be something we-
And also, it includes 120,000 or something that's just duplicated in the budget, that just needs to go out, that are errors in the budget that need to go out.
And Karen,
And
did
plus
you
there's this
hear?
additional 50,000, really, we have $90,000 budgeted for this building, for maintenance on this building.
Right, that's an
There's
error.
another 50 and there's another 40.
Yeah, that's an error.
Yeah. But, do we leave it? My gut also says that, and I talked to Diane about this earlier, I think we should throw some dollars in for a second assistant, just in case something happens to Abby, just in case, so what if we have somebody in here 15, 20 hours a week to clean up? Let's look at scanning all our documents. Let's throw $10,000 and get us all electronic. Why are we dealing with paper?
Yeah.
Like, let's take us up a level, and if we have this extra money, why not have
Yes.
a backup person?
100% agree with
So if
you.
Abby's out, there's somebody to fill in. And if
Yep.
it's 20
Yep.
hours a week, it's 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we're probably
Right.
under.
Put in not a receptionist. Doesn't need a big title, just a receptionist.
Yep.
you know, to handle some of those things.
An
And
office
then Abby,
assistant.
as the, whatever we said, she can handle the more complicated things.
Yeah, and then that can,
And that person,
then
you
we,
start to
the
groom a
trustees,
person.
don't
You're
have to do
starting
as much,
grow a
which would be
person
great.
In case we lose somebody, you got another person that can step in. I think we should be doing that for our stability.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so I say add an assistant into the, I mean, I think we're talking at a detailed level about the budget. We're not talking about the policy of the budget. We're not talking about the policy matters right now. The big picture, which is how much money are we bringing in? How much are we spending? And
Yeah.
what are we doing with the money that we're bringing in? And what, you know, if we have extra, what should we be doing that we're not doing right now?
You know what, you guys are ahead of me, I'm sorry, but, because I don't understand the numbers, because I understand that we have this total revenue of 1.5 million and a total expenditures of 1.6 million, so I
Okay.
don't
And then I
understand where
just
the big,
added it up again, and it's probably
the big,
closer to 1.8.
point-
surplus is.
okay.
But that
To me, that's
So-
includes,
negative.
that
So let
includes all
me-
the repeats.
So,
Help
just,
me understand.
okay, so going
Okay.
back to discussion a few weeks ago. You have your operating funds and your capital funds. Your operating funds are your basic costs to run the organization. The capital costs are investments that you make that theoretically, you know, change your balance sheet. So you're investing in, it's not your base operating cost, you're investing in something that's gonna add value to the township, right? And so the capital improvements and infrastructure is separated out onto a separate line in the budget, and that's this last page right here. And we've budgeted that at 8.55 million. 8.53 million. So our capital costs, our non-operating costs, we made a policy decision last year because we have large accumulated balances because we've had an operating surplus for, it looks like decades to me, because I've gone back for a lot of the prior audits. So we have this recurring operating surplus, so we had millions of dollars, and we made a policy decision last year about the balances. This is good for you to hear, Lonnie, because you weren't here. We set aside a portion of those balances for emergency funds. We set aside a portion of the balances for cash because we only collect property taxes twice a year, and so we need to have enough money in the bank to pay the bills while we're waiting to collect the property taxes. And we set a portion aside for capital improvements, basically for ongoing maintenance and so on. And so,
Didn't we do land preservation too? Or that came out of a different?
well, we just made a policy about
Okay.
what we were going to do with the budget, and then we made some specific allocations like land preservation and roads and all that, and those things came out of this. So we subtracted all these, we set aside all these funds from the balances and subtracted them from what we had, and then we had a remaining balance that was available to us to deploy for strategic purposes, and that is what we're using to pay for land preservation, the 300, the roads, and all those other things. So we have this pot of money that's sitting out there, but we also have this recurring problem of the operating surplus. So we're not spending, even though we're spending more than we're bringing in, we're not bringing down the balance. You know, we've got all this money sitting in the bank that we really shouldn't have because of intergenerational equity. You're not allowed to collect taxes unless it's for some specific purpose. So we've got an obligation to spend tax dollars except for the balances that we decided as a policy matter we're going to retain. If our budget adds up to 1.8 million, of which 800,000 is capital, that is supposed, theoretically, coming out of our balances. It's not coming out of this year's tax dollars. Maybe it's okay. It just means we're spending down our balance. We're still spending down the balances. We're just not spending it down at as quickly as we thought we would. And maybe at the end of all this, we're going to find that we have 300,000 a year for roads, because what it says to me is we still have this operating surplus of $500,000 a year. And we can use that 500,000 to hire someone, or whatever we can expand our base operations and also invest in pay for capital expenses. Does that?
Do an agri center.
Well, we can't do an ag.
Private industry.
We don't have enough money for that, yeah, so.
When you add all these up, it comes up a little over $1 million for our O&M.
Right,
When you
yeah.
add all this.
Not
And then you
inclu-
have the 853, so we're sitting at 1.8 when we have
Yeah.
but really 1.7, because we can take off 100,000 off roads.
Right,
So
and
right
50,000 off the building.
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay, so 150,000 off the 1.8. We're at
Yeah,
1.6,
so we're
so
just
we're,
Like 100,000
yeah,
difference
we're
from
hitting
what we're bringing in and
100,000.
what
But
we're,
we haven't put in an assistant, we haven't put in any big projects we want to do. You know, there's some things we haven't put in.
well, I put in 15,000 for a part-time person.
At what, what'd you put?
Well, okay, we left off let's go back, now that we have a better idea of the bottom line, let's go back to the lawyer.
So yes to the
Okay,
lawyer.
okay.
It's very valuable,
So
I
we'll
think.
leave $60,000 for the lawyer, 16 for the auditor. Her bill was 14 last year, or was it 11,850? So, but we don't,
I put in 20,000 for assistant, Diane. You're hiring somebody $18 an hour.
Is Kim Haynes going to be a contractor, or is she going to be an employee?
contractor. She has her own business. Yeah. Oh, and actually, I have Kim in here 2 times. So right now we
I
have,
was gonna say, did
we
we
have,
put Kim in clerk's office, or did we put her in contracted services?
I put her both times in contracted services, but I have her in here twice, once for 15 and once for 16. So,
Take one of those and move it to whatever an assistant would be, and I'd up it to 20 or 24. If you're gonna pay
for the
somebody
assistant,
If
20,
you're gonna pay somebody $18 an hour, 18 times part-time is what, 20 hours a week?
yeah,
Times
24.
52 is 19 grand.
Where do you have her in twice?
And I only
I
see Kim
have her,
once.
I have her
Under
under, at the
auditor.
bottom of.
Under the clerk's office, I think.
Legal and professional. I put her in under contracted services for accounting,
But you also have her under the clerk's office.
and then, and do I have her under the clerk's office or general government? I have her under general government for 16,
Oh, there, okay.
but I did not put her specifically under the clerk's office.
Oh,
Unless I, okay.
I didn't see.
Yeah, I don't
didn't
have
see
her.
it
I
under
put
clerk.
recording secretary, but I don't see Kim Haynes under
okay,
that.
but, so that's just something that you can,
I see her here,
Yeah, that's the only place I see her,
In
in where
here.
place?
next
There's
page.
2.
Oh, next page.
Yeah, middle of the green.
I don't find it.
it doesn't matter. I mean, if it's in twice, we don't need to find it and confirm it. Diane can just take it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's in
when
twice.
these go into the,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd just change it to, I'd change it to
I
general
just like to see
government.
what we're
just
talking
put
about,
Yeah.
I get lost.
A receptionist.
Yeah, I have a front desk coverage, receptionist, temporary or part-time, 15,000.
And
Okay.
can,
And
and
she's
can,
under
she can back
telephone.
up, then she can back up Abby when Abby's on vacation.
And what do we do
But-
about the technology piece? How do we get to less paper?
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
We go to documents on demand.
Okay.
I've proposed this.
I'm gonna-
you have it under telephone now.
Linden Township has gone totally to documents on demand. Everything goes through a
How
scanner.
did that happen?
Goodbye, paper.
So that is
Before
probably
you
for
need
our phone.
anything,
This was, yeah. this is supposed
But did
to
the
be.
trustees then have
Oh, that's what it's
iPads or
16.
Yeah.
like nips that
I'm-
could
I don't know
really
what it was. I'm gonna have to look at that again.
I'm
Okay.
honestly very concerned about that, because I don't, my computer isn't great, and I don't want to plug it, and
I'm not saying we get rid of everything, but all our filing cabinets and everything. And just like he digitized
Oh, here I have contract.
Oh, she has,
zoning and planning in there, I think we
All right.
should upgrade our
hey,
paper.
Diane already has front desk coverage, temp or part-time in there. I would just up it a little bit, Diane. I think 15,000 may be too little.
Where's that? Oh, for there. yeah.
Under general governments, the fourth line down.
Assistant wages, yeah.
And just cross out Kim Haynes.
Yeah, just cross out the
That's
name, because that's
telephone.
just telephone. I don't
Just
know how
make,
that name got
I
there.
mean, I'm sure
Oh, I see.
15,000 would be enough for this year, but probably next year it'll need to be more. So
Here's the other thing. Dexter Senior is gonna come for us for money. And do we wanna up our contribution to Dexter Wellness versus doing a millage?
Well, I don't
Dexter
know
Wellness.
that we're at that
No,
point
I'm
where
not
we
talking
have
Dexter
a
Wellness,
choice
Dexter
about
Senior.
that. So that's gonna be a whole, that's
Yeah.
a huge,
Oh, there's Kim Haynes
decision
down
to
there.
make.
I see, yeah.
That's where money can be spent. That would
Um,
be important.
Uh,
Sorry, what?
I'm just saying that's where money could be spent. That would
Yeah,
be
that's what
important.
I'm saying. We could help Dexter Senior and help our seniors without doing a millage to the township.
but they're not, that's not what they're looking for, because Webster has offered to give them a substantial amount of money, but it's not ongoing and it's not sustainable. If they
How
want
much
to own a
are they
building,
willing to give?
82,000.
82,000
Yeah,
to Dexter
so-
Senior?
I don't want to have this conversation
Yeah, I
right
don't
now, to
think
be
that-
honest,
yeah.
because I have feelings about this. I don't, and I'm not, so it's not going to be an easy conversation.
Right.
I mean,
I mean,
feelings.
it is a
I have
whole-
opinions about this. I'm not sure that I want to do that,
Well,
so.
there is a whole big movement coming out of the Dexter Senior
Yeah.
Center that's going to
Well,
be
it's
very
coming.
different than,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So I don't
It's
think this is a point
I mean,
where
I
we,
want to, I don't want
there's-
to rush through that conversation.
and also Washtenaw County is working on a senior millage, so, and I don't think I would want to make any decision until they make their decision, and because they're looking at $11 million.
We're just plopping dollars in.
I
thought-
say agri-center.
I thought there was a department code for the roads. I don't need one, but remember they asked if we could have $6,000 because they want to do some publications and some events. The roads, I'm looking at the general government and I see that you've got the roads, WWRA, Wave, and Multi-Lakes in there.
Yeah, that's
for-
just the per diem.
Yeah, I know, but remember I asked if, the road commission asked for the road committee asked for a $6,000 budget. and
Yeah, we
I don't
need
know
a
where that
separate,
is.
I think we need a separate line for that, so, because it's not under capital improvements, so.
I mean, I wouldn't mind, I don't necessarily need to have a separate department for it because it's not as significant as, the open space committee and the planning committee and all. I mean, I don't know that the road committee is going to continue to meet forever, but we just would like some money to do a couple of mailings and some events. So could we increase the printing publishing line to 13,000? So if we can have
Yeah.
2 mailings, and then we also want to do tabling at some events, and they thought that would be another $2,000, and I don't know where that might go.
General.
Yeah, general government.
Okay, so where it says newsletter sometimes, I'll just add road committee and increase that to 13,000.
And maybe it could just be under supplies or something. Could we just bump up, could we just have, so the other thing they want to do is tabling at events. And for that, they want to be able to produce some brochures and a sign, and maybe if there's a $25 fee. So,
Yeah, there's a miscellaneous.
yeah, so could we just have,
5,000.
oh,
We could
yeah.
just put- Yeah.
oh,
put
can
that.
we just bill it against that
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
Okay. They asked for $6,000 total.
Yeah, so if they'd get money out of the printing and publishing and out of the miscellaneous.
So the miscellaneous looks fine because we didn't spend much in that, so I would just
Yeah.
leave it, but maybe bump up the printing and publishing a little bit.
Yeah, I'll move that up. Okay. Anything else under general government?
What was this 36,000 for accounting and finance from the previous budget?
That was Woodhill and
Yeah, Woodhill, I'm
finance,
assuming.
yeah. Oh, and the cemetery, we missed the cemetery, Karen.
And,
It's orange right above general government.
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I just thought,
yeah.
that could be a really great project. We
Oh,
should
that's
fund it.
nice. Like that. Whoops.
Planning and zoning? Anything else in general government? Sorry.
So again,
So why isn't the road,
the salaries,
why isn't the road improvements in here?
The road improvements
They
are
are
under capital.
They're under
Improvement at the
capital.
end.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And the land preservation's on a
Yeah.
separate,
Yeah, I noticed that, okay.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, because I
yeah,
am
on the
looking at,
millage.
I'm looking at recording secretary, and I really do like seeing it broken down. And I see it's now going to be, the location will be under clerk and planning. So is that 3,000, well, since you're on your way there anyways, for recording secretary for the ZBA, is that for the planning commission as well?
Yeah, ZBA and Planning Commission.
Oh, okay, planning commission.
Yeah.
Where would, I guess we'll just wait. till
Oh,
we get
that's why,
there.
under recording secretary, under general government, I said I put it under clerk and planning, so.
So we're not going to have it under land preservation, because I did open up a geom line item.
Oh, yeah, well,
Just to
that will
keep
come
it-
out of the, yeah, so we should put that also.
Okay.
I don't think that was in the, when we get to land preservation, we can add that to the budget for what, we'll talk about that budget, because that's specific to them.
Are we in planning and zoning right now?
Yeah, I keep trying to get out of there. You have something to say about it?
Well, I
Yeah.
just think we agreed to a 6% across the board salary, so that changes that.
Well, there's nobody now, currently, there's nobody in
I
there.
have a column in there at 88,300. First line.
Oh, are you planning and, oh, I thought you said you're in general government, okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we'd moved on.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I'm like, who's
Never
getting
mind.
paid for 88,000 and, okay. Yeah, so that's the Director of Planning and Zoning, and I put it in here at 7%, and I put it on the sheet at 8% as a different amount. So you want that, so it sounds like we're going to 6% across the board. And then I also recommended for the DPZ that we up his, right now, we contribute, the township contributes 4% to his MERS, and I recommended that we raise that to 6%.
And what is the officer wages for 37,600?
Mike Zanuck.
That's zoning officer, yeah, that's Mike.
What's the basis of the 6%?
Of the 6, well, I said 8%, because he had a stellar,
No, I mean the increase, the MERS contribution
oh, just
from
because
4
I
to
think,
6% was just,
I think it's, that would be something we should probably write into a policy, but I think it's just to increase, different way to increase the benefit, to make the position more.
should I include a retirement? Should we, when we write the policy about benefits, should we just include a retirement benefit in there and then just have it be,
Yeah.
have our policy be consistent across the board for all
So
our
many
staff?
years at a percentage, so many years at a
I think that's pretty typical. Most institutions
Yeah.
just pay everybody the same in terms of retirement contribution.
And they do increase, or they just stay the same as? one
Usually
year?
the percent stays the same because the amount goes up with your pay.
Okay, yeah.
So you don't
You
typically,
get a raise when you get a raise.
but I know
Your
that for,
retirement goes up when you get a
and
raise.
for the state of Michigan, well, I can get some benchmarks. The university pays really high. State of Michigan, I think, is at 3%, so it's a lot lower, so I think it's kind of across the board, but we could maybe see what other townships do.
So if his,
Are we proposing to stay at like 4% until we have a policy on it?
I think
it
so.
would be about 1,800 a year at with the 6% increase.
Yeah, but if you're giving one person 6%, another person 4%, this is a standard retirement policy that should be a
Well, Mike's
universal.
part-time and David's full-time.
What about Abby, though? Didn't you just propose something for Abby? And what
I
about this-
proposed 6% for Abby.
So you're proposing the 6% across the board retirement benefit?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't care that much what the percent is, but I'd like to know that it's based on something, and I don't want to adjust
Yeah.
it every year.
Yeah,
So I just think we pick a percent, we do a policy, and
Okay.
and it's not part of our compensation discussion.
I've also seen them structured as like a certain percent match, so like a 3% match.
Yeah.
And then an additional, whatever the standard percent is, so 3% is always paid, and then an additional up to 3% match would be
Yeah,
what I think is kind of standard.
There is a requirement through MERS, is it 1%?
Yeah, that's what.
Right now, it's 1%.
Is that what we pay? Is that what the township pays?
No, we right now paid,
That's what David pays.
Oh, okay. You have to match 1%. So if
Is
we
this-
put
is
in
this
4,
something
you
that
have to match 1
Fall
minimum.
into, like, is this something I should be looking into, or you should? Because maybe this is more of a compensation question than
I'd
a,
say it's a compensation.
than,
I'll add it to my list.
well, but I was just going through in my mind, like, how would I research this? And I realized probably doing all the things that you're going to do to research the salary stuff.
I really have never heard of percentages increasing like that.
No.
In all my history. It just, your retirement increased when your salary went up. It never changed a percentage, whether it was a 3%, 3 to 3, if you matched it 3, or, you know, there was a set policy and it stayed there for life.
And it usually does, but say a standard contribution for a defined benefit, which the township doesn't have, is around 4 or 5%.
Yeah.
So, but with the defined contribution, that percentage is actually worth considerably less for retirement. So 4 or 5% is kind of the standard.
We need a policy.
So are we now on emergency preparedness, Diane? You've
oh,
got,
no, so what did we decide on? Okay, so for officers' wages, we're going with the 6%, and then I recommended, I mean, Mike has not received any, we're still on planning and zoning, Mike has not received any MERS benefits in the past, so, but that was that, you know, and I also wanted to recommend a $200 a month car stipend for him, because he actually just had to retire his car, because he beat the crap out of it driving down some of these roads going
in
out to all
addition
these
to the,
places.
in addition to,
the mileage, right.
the mileage reimbursement is 62.5 cents a mile.
I thought it was 68
It would-
cents a mile.
No, it's 62.5 cents.
Oh, it was for a few months, they took it down.
I mean, I think that's very generous already, the mileage reimbursement. But,
Seems to me it should be one or the other.
yeah,
Should be a set car allowance or mileage reimbursement.
but I'm totally supportive of everybody getting MERS. You know, everyone should get everyone should get benefits if we can afford it. And now we know we can afford it, so we should do it.
Okay. Anything else under planning and zoning you have a question about? Zoning Board of Appeals, ZBA. It's pretty standard.
So what's the 25,000 equipment maintenance contract? On
Oh,
OWS?
that's for the
Oh,
outdoor warning system. All of the, I have the quotes here, all of the batteries have to be replaced. There's just an amazing amount of maintenance that needs to be done, so.
So should we go for that on a one-time basis and then put in 5,000 a year after this? I mean,
Well, they always give us the estimate, it says we have about a $6,000 to $8,000 annual contract that they present us with, and at that point, they tell us the different things that they feel need to be done, you know, give us a estimate, need to be done to keep the system in shape, which, you know. So I think we can just then I think that's something you could decide on year by year. It's an expensive system to maintain.
Sorry, before we get too far away from it, the zoning board of appeals, I just have a question about, as we set this up, are we listing the recording secretary in each location, or are we doing them only in certain line items?
So,
We did one under clerk for these meetings. We'll do one under land preservation. We're doing, and then the ZBA and the planning commission are under the planning. and zoning
because
department.
we can capture some of those costs through fees, if they're, right, David? I mean, if it's for planning, zoning, and land preservation, we can recapture the cost because we have other revenue streams that can support those.
Okay, I was just wondering, because there's nothing here for it
Yeah,
under
but it's
zoning
under-
board of appeals, so it's
right,
just
'cause
up
it's-
now under planning?
It's under planning, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anything else, anything else about the warning system? It's expensive. And then these other, the at-large drains. That should be $8,000.
What should?
The drains, those are,
Oh, down.
yeah, at the drains, public benefit. That should have an $8,000 recommended amount.
You do have it there, don't you, or no?
I do at the bottom, but I don't
Okay,
at the,
you don't have
at the
it.
top, I don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah, and this contracted service for landfill, $13,000. That's something we've been in for a long time.
Well, you looked into it, didn't you, Michelle?
Yeah,
And you found out that it was,
Yeah, we have to take care of it. It's just maintenance, long-term, forever maintenance probably, which is very important for our groundwater, so.
then community service support. I mean, we've typically given Dexter seniors and Chelsea seniors $3,000. I thought we might want to give them a bump to $4,000 this year.
Did you respond to Julia for WAVE? Because I know she was trying to reach out.
I didn't to have a meeting with her, but she did, and then, yeah.
Did she give you their
Yeah.
project, or what they're
Yeah,
asking?
14.8, I put that in
Okay.
there. Yeah, yeah, thanks.
Mhm.
So is that 4,000 to the senior centers? Is that, does anybody want more or less?
I'm fine.
Hmm?
I said I'm okay with it, but I do think we need to,
Yeah, that's a
More
huge, that's a,
conversation. Yeah,
that's a,
Right,
Yeah.
for now, but
yeah,
seems like it's an issue.
and then we used to give 250, we usually gave 250 to Historical Society. And so I just doubled that, since it's so little. And then for WAVE, they asked for 14,800. That's what they are asking for from Dexter Township. And then community programs, those were all, I just bunched those together. The
What are
cleanup days, maybe gun collection, medication collection, the newsletters and cemetery put somewhere else, the community engagement, volunteer appreciation, having food truck, a movie here, coffee hours, although I know, some people want to pay on their own, for that kind of thing. Environmental, if we do and one thing we're talking about is having the community help us maybe put up some new, well, they wouldn't put up new fences, but put up some new fences and clean out by the recycle area and coordinate with WWRA. Those are some of the things we've been talking about, so I just pulled all that together for $20,000. And nothing under building support.
somebody's going to have to do all that. Somebody's going to have to organize it. Our new part-time receptionist.
Looks good
Okay,
for now.
okay, so you want to take the broadband now, Karen?
yeah, I don't,
I thought we were going to keep a little bit of money in case,
yeah, I don't have a problem using it as a placeholder. I'm just saying that the likelihood is that the county should be picking up the bulk of broadband.
But if they
Right.
don't,
Yeah, I thought we were keeping a little,
Yeah, I don't have a problem
Chunk.
with you a
Okay.
little bit. And I don't think, even if that's the case, I don't think it would be spent until the '24 budget.
Did
Right.
somebody get the road commission proposed contract when I passed around? I passed down that little set of data,
Oh.
and I think
Oh.
in it, yeah. Because I want to say what roads are going to be repaired in that.
And then we had
and
to
you want
share.
me to take this to 625, Karen?
Well, so here's the thing. It would be 645, so the road commission has proposed basically a 700,000 almost budget with $53,000 from, match from them.
Right.
But that includes the roads that we all approved, you know, subject to availability of funds. But the ones that were queued up for this year are Quigley, Brand Road, Quigley to North Territorial, Stinchfield Woods, Toma, Stinchfield Woods Road, Toma Road to Dexter Town Hall. So let me say this again. So it's Brand Road from Quigley to North Territorial, if that makes sense.
Brand from.
Oh, that's Grand.
And then
That's
Stinch,
not Quigley Road.
and then Stinchfield Woods Road from Toma to Dexter Town Hall. And then Toma Road from North Territorial to County Line. And then Waterloo from Island Lake Road to Township Line. And as a reminder, this was based on condition of the road, safety, you know, accident rate, and average daily use. And we came up with a schedule, a 5-year schedule for road repair that was based on those factors.
I just have a question, I'm confused. Only Brand Road, even though Brand does like a 90-degree into Quigley?
Maybe that's why it's, I'm saying we're quickly.
Well, it's
Grand Road is a
That
weird
just always
little
gets
road.
me,
It's-
because when you have the people there, you have the resources, you have the rollers, you have the dump trucks, you get a better deal on
So
gravel.
when you said
The employees
Quigley
are there.
Brand, is it from
Well,
North T to Quigley? Is that what you're saying, Brand, North T to Quigley?
Down to that subdivision.
It's not on this is saying it's not Quigley.
Yeah, it appears to me that, you know, and I didn't print out this presentation's a little bit confusing to me, and I can't remember what it looked, you know, when I sent it over to them and said, here's what we want to do, I can't remember what it looked like, and
So
this is how they send it
basically,
back.
We'd be taking on 4 roads. Brand, Stinchfield, Toma, and Waterloo.
That's what it looks like to me.
I can't believe Brand has more traffic than.
No, it's just in worse shape.
It's in
Yeah,
bad
It's-
shape.
it's
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 not about traffic, it's
Yeah.
about.
No,
It's in
it's
terrible
condition,
condition.
there were 3 criteria:
Yeah, okay.
condition of the road, traffic,
Right.
and the condition of the road was measured in 2 ways: years since the last major
Yeah, okay.
repair, plus amount of maintenance the road commission has to
right.
put into,
Okay.
average daily use, and accident rate.
Yeah.
And that was based on public input. Remember, the public came and told us what was important to them. So, and so we took all our local roads and we put them in order, we put them in order from the highest priority to the lowest priority based on those criteria. And then I assumed $600,000 a year, and we divided it into 5 years. And these were the 4 that were up for this year. But when we approved it, hopefully it's clear to the public, that doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to do these. It was subject to availability of funds. But I think we can see now that we have the funds available. When they gave us the estimate a couple of years ago, it was 600,000. Now it's 650,000. But it's offset by their match. And they've also added, they'd like to do another $20,000 in forestry work, and I asked them to justify that to me, like, what do you want to do and why and what's the impact? And they never got back to me on that, remember, Diane?
Yeah.
And so I suggested that we have 2 lines in the budget, $625 for the road repair that we, according to the schedule, and then a separate line, $20,000 for forestry, to be justified by the road commission, right? Because I don't know what that 20,000 supports. So they want us to do 645,000 this year, but I don't feel like the 20
Including their 50? Does
In-
that include their 50 or not their 50?
includes their 50. So they want to do 697,000 in work. They want to give us 53,000.
So they want 650 from us roughly.
645, yeah. But I asked them to justify the 20,000 and they didn't. So just so you know, I'm always
So we
asking
might
for
be down-
justification, not
Well,
just from
remember
you guys.
We might be down to 620.
What?
We might be down to 625
620, so I
if they
said,
don't justify.
so I told Diane, let's put in 2 line items in the budget, the 625, and then if you guys don't want to do, I didn't know how much money was going to be available, but I can see now that we have plenty of money.
The tree work is pretty important.
Yeah,
It
I
is
remember
really
when they
important.
talked about that.
It
yeah.
is
Especially now.
The trees
Look at
are
all these
dangerous.
trees
Yeah.
on Quigley.
And,
Well, they
It
said
dries
that,
out the road. If you don't have the tree cover, your road dries out. It's so much better.
Yeah,
and I just want to
exactly.
know, but I just think we should know,
Yeah, I
like,
do too.
like this line forestry operations, 20,000. I just want to know what they're
yeah,
proposing to do with it.
yeah, we should know.
Where?
Where and what are they talking about tree remove, or are they talking about coming and removing roads that, with trees? I just don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
Do you know if they said something about the brine, where they were going to include it with the ARPA funds?
Their dust control?
Yes,
They're
They're-
doing,
they're-
they're
they
paying
are-
for dust control.
they're paying for dust control.
That's all.
They sent us an email.
No, well,
Wow.
Well, the road
using the
commission,
funds.
the road commission is,
I say, we don't pay for the burning.
well, we used to pay for the maintenance, routine, a little bit for the routine maintenance, and I think they're covering that now.
You're covering that.
yeah, which is, cool.
So we still need to see our ARPA funds, what we've done with ARPA.
Yeah.
So just off the top of our head, our ARPA was what, 640?
Yeah, about that.
Just roundabout 640?
Yep.
Roughly. And what did we dedicate? We had
300 to land pros,
300.
What?
yeah.
300 land, 150 to multi-lake, 154 to multi-lake. 70, I'll say 75 to broadband.
Do we have, I'm guessing, Diane, we also need to do a budget for open space, because we have a
It's-
millage for it now.
It's in here.
It's in here.
Oh, where's that?
It's on the last page of these 3 reports
Oh.
are millage
Oh,
reports.
I didn't see that. I know. Never mind.
It's in here. Oh, it's in this?
It's the second page, yeah. The color one.
Oh, wait a minute. My thing got ripped off. The heck?
Here, I have an extra.
Oh, that's okay, I got it.
So we're gonna collect $246,000 in millage.
So, I mean,
We'll
the
make more
fire
than that.
department, we're gonna spend more
More than that.
this year than we're taking in on a millage. We do have, I think, about 800,000 in the fire fund, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna have to, and so this is the whole discussion that, yeah, I mean, with the fire department, they're looking to really increase their expenses. At the same time, Dexter Township pays a higher percentage of just the necessary costs than they should. I understand, most townships, or most places, don't charge by the run anymore, the way our interlocal has been doing for all these years. So we're really subsidizing the other townships greatly.
Yeah.
So that's something that I have been discussing, and will come up. We're doing a strategic planning, another session soon, and Lonnie's actually going to be the mediator. And then we'll hopefully make a plan to look at the interlocal and come up with a little more equitable finance or funding, because, we can't keep taking 20% increases on the fire department when they're looking to improve the services and like things that we talked about, like having one firefighter at the stations, at the substations, for 24/7. That's not a safe and reliable plan for eternity, and different things that, we're purchasing an ambulance, the chief has a truck, so, I mean, it's a very expensive endeavor, but it's going to continue to be that way. But we need to find a way to have a more equitable billing towards everybody, so I'm working on that.
So we're proposing 1.3 to fire? Is this
No, the millage will bring in about 1.16.
Oh, that's what.
That's the revenue, and it's 1.3 for the expenses. So that's a month, they have a different operating calendar, January 1st to December 31st, so a little bit of that is estimated, because I don't know what I don't know what the bill's going to be in January of '24, so this is a little more than our monthly bill right now. I put on 200,000 a month, just to be safe.
100,000 a month,
200 a month would be 2.4 million.
yeah. 1.3
before-
million is more like
Right now, we pay
100,000.
95. Oh, wait, I put in $20,000, sorry, a month for,
$100,000 a month, right?
we pay
like
100,000.
Yes.
We pay about, yeah,
It was I think it's like 89 something, right, Michelle?
Isn't it, it's like 92?
it's 90-something, it's 90,
It's increased, it was
Yeah.
89 and now it increased
right.
to what, 90
I
something?
believe it's like 92.
I thought it was
92.
92 when we approved it last time.
Yes.
okay. Yeah, so that's just a huge, that's going to be, and we have to prepare for the millage, so.
Is that with the
That's a
cost?
1.1, huh?
Is that with the cost
Yeah,
of
because it was
the
2 months. So that's only 1.1.
emergency vehicle?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's the budget, yeah, with that,
Is that ordered?
yes.
Nice. Where will it be stationed?
To be determined.
So are you really going to be able to spend this much on conservation easements?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the projection.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, yeah, well, that'll include the closing on, does this include the closing on Monier's property? On the 437? Or that's,
Yes, I think so. I'm not sure.
okay.
But yeah, I think so. And I think that's 30, yeah, that's like 30,000.
I mean, just a reminder that we want
No,
to spend that, we want to be sure to spend that ARPA, because we will lose it over time if we don't spend it.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I know we don't have the ARPA.
We're doing a lot of promotion around sending out, a letter to all the landowners. There's going to be a public notice about it. We're already getting applications. We have another one in the hopper right now. Yes, so it is happening.
Well, I mean,
Our board is going strong.
but you'll
already.
probably also get matching funds and,
Yeah, we will, yeah. Yeah, so I know, Barry's on it, and I've got my eye on that too.
I have a
and,
question
I mean,
about
we
the
can
police
always,
Okay,
budget on here.
yeah.
I just want to clarify. So the top number in red, the 625, is revenues? 'Cause it says-
expenditures,
This is
Sorry.
police? Okay.
625 is expenditures?
yeah. and-
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's reversed for what the fire was? Because fire says total revenues at the top.
correct, it is reversed,
And then the expenditures are the 1.3
No, this
for
is-
fire?
yes.
Okay, all right.
So what's 685?
That's-
That's the revenue from the police millage.
Okay.
So
The
we're
680
under-
Well, I don't think are the police expenses on here?
Yeah, 625, I mean, it's just it's a contract.
So we're under
So,
on our police.
We're under on the police.
But wait,
We're over
but
on the fire.
it says current property taxes 625, that's a revenue. I just don't see the expenses on here at all for police.
The contract for the year is 685,552 on the bottom right hand.
So we pay a flat fee
Yeah,
to the
Oh,
police.
so the line that says total revenues is actually the expenses?
yes.
Yeah.
But what about police overtime and all of that?
There is police overtime.
It's
usually
included in
every-
there?
No, that's an
Okay.
additional.
Can we go back, because I'm confused here? The total revenues are our total expenses are 685,000 for the police?
No, that's revenues.
That's revenue.
625.
625 is what we pay the police as a standard amount per year.
Yes,
So we're $50,000 roughly over on our police.
correct.
Correct.
But that's,
But,
I did not estimate it overtime.
but we do have overtime.
But we do
Yeah.
it, yeah.
That will fluctuate.
So-
And maybe every 2 or 3
So
months.
we're on a
it'll
break
come.
even.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We always have a cushion, but, yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Were you going to say what's the 640?
Yeah, so what's this, I'm just gonna ask, 640, 460, that's last year's budget?
That's how much we've spent at this point with the police. So that includes
And they
the
have-
overtime.
Right.
And this 625 does not include the overtime.
Oh,
I
so
will
then we should
increase
bump that to 640.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we probably should bump it a little bit more than that because this isn't, these books aren't closed. It's
Sure.
640, so,
So we're gonna bump it to the 685.
yeah.
Okay.
Let's bump it to 685. No, I don't think we have to bump it
That makes
down.
sense to me.
Let's do
Okay.
that. Because we can't use that for anything else anyway.
Right.
Except for Michigan class. We
Okay,
can
but
invest
can we
it.
move it over to fire, so we break even on
No,
fire?
we can't.
even
No,
shift
no,
it?
no.
Okay.
Can't even borrow.
I can invest it.
Maris can invest it, and she has. And so they will get some, also get some income, because we didn't break down the interest from Michigan class.
Oh, yeah, I had we did all of it individually.
Yeah, you did, I mean, I didn't break it down in here.
That's
so
all right.
It was what we talked about in the beginning, it was all in the
Yeah, I didn't think about that, though.
So are there any other big projects we want to take on this year?
We could purchase the property on the corner of
You
Dexter
keep working
Town
for
Hall
that.
and North Territorial
I know,
from
that's an
LaFontaine
awesome
and
property.
get
It's a
deal
great
on it.
I can't believe no one
And
bought
get
that
a
yet.
deal on it and then put out, come up with some really interesting plan
I like that land right there.
For the township?
for
to
the
run it?
Township Agri Center. I'm serious, really.
I hear you, but I see that as a private enterprise. I don't see it as a township enterprise.
But we
But
could,
that would be the
we-
township
there
running
might
but
be
we could,
creative
we could
Karen.
incentivize somebody to invest there
There
by
you go.
offering them, by waiving their
Waiving
property
their
tax
taxes
I mean, we
and
could
on
buy
the
it
improvements and
temporarily.
all that, but that would not, that would just be foregone future revenue. I mean, that's not really a budget discussion right now. That's just something that we could do,
Is there anything other than the assistant we want to do? Is a cell tower, what's a cell tower? Is a cell tower going to cost us anything? Are we going to have dollars out of our pocket to get a cell tower?
I don't know that we know that yet. I think the idea would be that it would hopefully be a revenue generator.
Right, that's the idea, but is there any, in our preliminary work, should we put, we've got $78,000 in broadband. Should we put broadband cell tower and make it a communications package in case we have some other issues that run up?
I know what my neighbors would like on Madden Road, internet.
Well, that's coming.
Could do cell tower will require property acquisition.
Or, like you said, a cell tower that would bring 5G, so I wouldn't need the internet, I
No,
wouldn't
the
need
internet's
broadband.
coming. I
maybe
talked
we
to
could get the University of Michigan to, maybe we could replace the WUOM tower because it's an eyesore, and replace it with a
a
cell
fake tree.
tower, with a combined cell tower and UOM,
I'm just saying, let's think of some projects, like, I'm all for digitizing records. I don't know what it's gonna cost exactly, but I am all pro. If we've spent a lot of money bringing all our computer systems up to whack, why not continue? And why are we keeping archives and archives and archives of records?
Well, are we going to have a public meeting? What's so I will tell you, I'm meetinged out right now, and I don't have much stamina for creative ideas about how to, and I would like to be I would like to be looking at, this is our base revenue, this is our base operating costs, and this is the difference, and I would like to remember what our balances were, so we could be looking at it and knowing, like, okay, if we're gonna, I would like to have this in a context, and then I'd like to have this conversation, but I don't really
Yeah.
want to have it right
And I
Yeah,
think
and
we
we
can,
also-
we can have that discussion at any time of the year, I
Right.
mean, and make a budget amendment and approve a program. Laura, sorry.
We also have a strategic plan
Yeah.
that we can go back to and look at.
You know what, we
And,
should.
and because we did put in some priorities.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but the Agri Center was on
That was
there.
the last thing on the list.
Yeah, it might be, but it was,
She's like,
yeah, but it was
Right out there with
before,
the
but
parks.
Karen, it was
And we've
before a
got no-
cell tower.
Do you think an ag center is really more more important than
Well,
this? I don't know.
Okay.
we,
Just kidding.
yeah, we've gotten a lot done since then, and so the low priority things may be harder.
Second call for public comment. Any other issues, comments, or concerns of the board? Karen?
Call it low priority?
Laura?
Yeah. What?
Any other comments?
No.
I mean, thank you for
Michelle?
your work, thank you, all of you, for the work, and especially you, Diane.
Meredith?
Thank you, Diane. No.
Lonnie?
I just want to mention that the coffee hour, our first coffee hour, is this Sunday at 2 o'clock.
Here?
in Township Hall.
Yeah.
Here.
Do you have a key?
Yes. But,
Okay. And you have the
Michelle-
code?
Well, I do not have it yet,
Oh.
but Michelle gave it to Abby for me. So
I-
there
I
there
have-
has
I-
been a key created for me.
I can give you my key right now in case, because Abby's out of
I-
town.
I'll get it. Abby, yeah.
Abby's out of town.
Because I'm
Oh.
going to be out of town this weekend, so I won't be there, so you can take my key and then you
Karen,
can.
any comments?
No.
Okay. Anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second? Oh, I can.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Lonnie, I wish I could come, but I have a birthday party for my mother to go to.
There will be plenty. There will be plenty of them.
Who's coming to this one?
Whoever wants to, because I was planning to, but am I supposed to?
I don't think it matters
Well, yeah, I
because we
don't think
won't talk about any, like, we will not
No
make any
policy.